Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Matt Mitchell Show. I'm DJ Foster here with Grand Valley State head football coach Matt Mitchell. Coach, a 28-0 victory over Tiffin this past Saturday puts you at 3-0 overall, 2-0 in the GLIAC. Obviously, for the outsiders, the overriding storyline, the major storyline from the weekend was the injury to Heath Barlink, junior quarterback, and preseason All-American candidate. Talk about his situation and kind of what that means to the team.
Well, I think in regards to just Heath, I'm disappointed because he put in a lot of time and effort to get to this position. Just a little bit, a lot of the growing pains that he had last year, finished really strong, and he kind of carried that over and was playing well the first couple games and was really, a leader on our offense. And so he's put a lot of into this, and now it's gone. So I'm disappointed for Heath from that perspective. But at the same time, he's still going to have an effect on his football team. He's a very strong leader. He's very intelligent. He's going to be right there now, taking over. He mentioned that we knew he kind of wants to get in some coaching. Well, this is going to be a prime example for him to try to be a part of our offensive and our coaching staff now. And so I look for him to still have an impact on our team based on a lot of things that are going to happen off the field. So in regards to the team, we didn't really talk about things, a ton. It's not like we're saying, let's go win it for Heath. It's kind of the next man in philosophy. Isaiah stepped in. I thought he did a really good job handling that situation at Tiffin, and now he's going to be our starting quarterback for the rest of the year. And so, he's got to do. He's put in a lot of work too, and now it's his opportunity. It's a chance for him to show what he can do. He's a very confident athlete, and this is the thing he's lacking that Heath had is experience. And it's tough to replicate those game reps, but that process started on Saturday. That was a great learning experience for him, and that will continue. Home against Ohio Dominican on Saturday.
Isaiah Grimes, as you said, in as the starter now, 6'6", 240-pound sophomore from South Haven. Talk about what he brings. As obviously he's lacking the experience, but what does he bring attribute-wise on the positives?
He's got a very strong arm. He's got a very live arm, and he could definitely throw some balls, into some spots that maybe most traditional backup quarterbacks couldn't. So, from a standpoint of us, we talked about this heading into preseason. We felt good about our depth at our quarterback position, not just our starter, but him and then Brandon Beitzel. Well, I think that depth has an opportunity now to be showcased. So he's confident. He's always had confidence in his ability to throw a football. He's one of those kids growing up. He's a basketball player. He's a hooper. He's a guy who goes out there and he likes to throw footballs, and that's his strength. So I think that there won't be any trepidation on Isaiah's part when he gets out there about throwing the ball around whatsoever. It's just, the things that he doesn't have. He doesn't have this wealth of experience that Heath has. And so there's going to be, same thing. He has some talent. He has some ability. He has some potential. Potential is kind of a dangerous word in this profession. If he keeps getting better and keeps improving, then I think we'll see a kid that will continue to get better and help us, hopefully. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. So some of this now is his opportunity. It's time to show people and himself, probably more important than the outside world, of what he can do. So I think it's, we don't have to really talk about it much down the football center because our guys have been around Isaiah Grimes for 3 years, and they're very comfortable with him. And so let's go out and start playing some football.
Now, on Saturday, in relief of Heath, he was 10 of 15 passing, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. He kind of relied on Charles Johnson, as Heath did as well. 6 catches, 139 yards, and 2 scores for CJ. And then Mike Rattay found the end zone 2 more times. He's actually tied for second in the league with 6 touchdowns. What were your thoughts offensively? Obviously, they're only 28 points, but as you kind of mentioned in the press conference, Tiffin kind of had something to do with that on their offense, making the game slow down a little bit.
No doubt. I mean, we could have been a little bit more prolific on offense. I think I was probably a little bit disappointed in that we didn't rush for more yardage, probably, given some of the things, but things just weren't quite as clean at the line of scrimmage. We weren't as technically as sound as we need to be. We didn't have as good a day as we need to have up at the offensive line. And at the running back position, there's a couple times we had some backs that missed some reads and missed some cuts. So, I think that was it a step backwards? No, I wouldn't say a step backwards. I look back that we only ran 50 plays and averaged 7 yards per play. That's still a fairly good chunk of change. We just didn't have as many opportunities as we did against Notre Dame College because of the style of play. A, what Tiffin was choosing to do. B, what I was choosing to do too. In the way we were approaching things defensively. I knew when we had a 3-4 score lead, that's the only way they were going to win was that we started taking a bunch of chances and risks on both sides of the ball. So at that point, it was more important for us to be a little conservative. So we weren't, we were being pretty safe with the types of calls we were making on both sides of the ball. But I thought Isaiah stepped in a great job. He had one bad read in a coverage and threw an interception, and we've been really good at turnover margin. That's the thing Isaiah's got to learn. if in doubt, you're going to have to either scramble or throw the ball out of bounds and get rid of it. We can't afford to turn the ball over at that position. We've seen the good and the bad of that in the last calendar year of what turnovers can do. So that's something he's got to learn from Saturday.
Defensively, 313 yards allowed, no scores, obviously. First shutout since October of 2010 when you beat Ferris 41-0. Obviously, the shutout looks nice on paper, but what did you think the defense did well on Saturday?
I thought what they did well is they knew what they were doing before the ball snapped, which was incredibly important for us. We had some confusion in Notre Dame College. I think we got that cleaned up. I think we had players that knew what they were supposed to do. At times, we didn't always necessarily execute as well as we needed to, and we didn't necessarily tackle and run with proper angles, so we're still continuing to work that up. I think the shutout gives validation to the players about what we've been preaching, and they made some progress. But I also think it should not be taken that, well, that's all that matters. The process is still important to us, and there's enough things that happened in the process-wise that weren't clean that we need to keep continuing to strive to clean up. So it's a step in the right direction, but in no means does it mean that we have arrived. We have not. That was a good performance, but it's still not the level our defense needs to be at.
Third straight Ohio school this Saturday as Ohio Dominican comes into town. They're 2-1 overall, 1-1 in GLIAC play. They got beat up pretty bad by Hillsdale. They're down 38-0. They made it a 38-20 final score. Then they beat up Northern Michigan pretty good last week, 47-7. Your first ever meeting with them. Obviously, it was your first ever meeting against Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. So it's early on, but what do you know about Ohio Dominican just from the early standpoint?
They're strong at the offensive line. They've got a lot of returning starters up there. They've got they got some new faces at the skill positions and a quarterback, a new starter. So they do a really good job running the ball. I think you see they're very well coached. They use a lot of zone schemes, inside zone, outside zone type schemes, and so that's going to be a little bit of a different challenge for us. We haven't seen a ton of zone scheme, and that's going to be new. So it's a learning process. This is the first time I've really watched a ton of Ohio Dominican tape. I don't have as much familiarity. Our defense staff and or players don't have as much familiarity with them. So it's one of those deals where we're gonna learn about them. I'm sure they're going to have some wrinkles and some things regarding their game plan for us, and it's going to come down to again, can our players make some adjustments based on how they're trying to attack us? It appears though on tape that running the ball is very important to them, just like it's important to us. And so that's probably going to be a critical part of the game is we got to make sure we run the ball. They also will like to play action and throw the ball down the field some too. They opened up the first play of the game as Hillsdale. They threw a play action pass and tried to get them in quarters coverage, and it did get intercepted, but they're willing to try to take some shots. And so we can't fall asleep in the back end of our defense. I mean, that was the other thing that Northern Michigan gave up quite a few big plays, and that was probably the biggest factor, that and the turnovers, and why they were able to get ahead of Northern Michigan very quickly at the end of the second quarter.
It's a tough stretch for you these next couple of weeks, an important stretch for the rest of the year. So what does your team have to do to move to 4-0 this week, and what would be the biggest thing?
We just, I think the most important thing is we got to prepare for Tuesday's practice, and I think on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to come down to, again, being good against the run and not giving up a ton of big plays. And then we've had a very strong start in the kicking game, and we've got to really do a good job of that. I think offensively, there's going to be a lot of work to be done offensively. I mean, Isaiah Grimes has never gotten the number one quarterback reps, and so he's going to have a lot on his plate, and our whole offense is going to be, there's going to be some changes that are made there. Obviously, the strength of this team is our offensive line and running backs, and so, we still got to rely on those guys some too. So, we've got to, there's some changes that are going to occur when you lose your starting quarterback. I think the adaptation of this whole team and that process has to start at Tuesday's practice for how that's going to happen.
Grand Valley State welcomes in Ohio Dominican this Saturday night at 7 o'clock. It's also Laker Blue Night, as all fans are encouraged to wear blue to the game. Mitch, best of luck this weekend, and thanks for your time tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for watching the Matt Mitchell Show here on the Grand Valley Sports Network.